Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Saturday, March 26, 2011, and I'm Darko. Welcome everyone to this news bulletin. This is my website, www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. You can subscribe down here through FeedBurner or eBlogger. Right over here to the right, you can follow me there, or on Facebook down here. You go all the way to the bottom. You can follow me on this blog by clicking that button. So I have a poll right here, and it is good for 3 days. And it says here, do you support military operations that include the removal of Gaddafi, instituting a no-fly zone, an embargo or sanctions, and or deploying ground troops, which Marines are in theater? As of right now, 85% and overwhelmingly majority say no, they do not support that. And as of right now, I'll get to it, but the Gallup poll says 47 or 41% of Americans support it. And so we're going to move on here. Most links will be posted. If they're not posted like last time, it's because I was having technical problems where YouTube basically is doing site maintenance. In other words, they're pulling videos of a truthful nature. And while they're doing that, you can't upload videos or you can't add or edit. So I basically lost all those links because I couldn't do it to the next day. So otherwise, if the links aren't posted, it's because I ran out of room. All right, so we're going to start off with the economy in this video. And first up is U.S. stocks rise most in almost 2 months as AT&T, Oracle gain. U.S. stocks rose, giving the S&P's 500 index its biggest weekly rally in almost 2 months, following corporate takeovers and higher than estimated profit forecasts, as well as easing concerns that Japan's nuclear crisis will curb global economic growth. Then we have HK China shares gain on bank earning hopes, and it said here in Hong Kong, banks led a broad uptick on the Hong Kong and China markets on Friday after Bank of China kickstarted a slew of high-profile earnings late on Thursday with better-than-expected results. And moving on to Europe, we have Europe shares make biggest weekly gain in 6 months. So it says here, European shares edged up on Friday and recorded their biggest weekly gain in 6 months, with investors increasingly confident Japan's nuclear crisis and Middle East unrest would not derail global growth. And we move on to Asia. Asian currencies climbed most in 2011 this week amid gain in yield premiums. Saudi stocks climbed to 5-week high on housing measures. And it says here, Saudi stocks rose to the highest level in almost 5 weeks as investors restore confidence in the Arab world's largest economy after King Abdullah ordered the creation of a ministry for housing. And then moving on to the dollar here, the dollar will collapse within 3 to 4 months. It says the U.S. dollar's inflationary death spiral continues. We've now taken out the 2010 low, leaving only 2 more lines of support before we're in completely uncharted territory. At its current rate of collapse, the U.S. dollar will do this within the next 3 to 4 months. This means the greenback will break into a new all-time low by 2H11, which will precipitate the coming inflationary collapse. PBOC foresees weak dollar, high commodity prices in 2011. China's central bank said Friday the U.S. dollar is expected to weaken with the slow recovery of the U.S. economy, and global commodity prices will increase due to greater demand. And then we have Treasuries decline as concerns on Japan, Libya eases, and U.S. economy expands. It says Treasuries dropped, pushing 10-year note yields up the most in almost 2 months as concerns ease that Japan's nuclear crisis and Libya's military conflict will undermine the global economic recovery. Then we have Warren Buffett, stay the hell away from long-term bonds. And according to Bloomberg, the Berkshire chief said in India yesterday, I would recommend against buying long-term fixed dollar investments. He said, if you ask me, the U.S. dollar is going to hold its purchasing power fully at the level of 2011. 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years from now, I would tell you it will not. I would much rather own businesses. It's very easy to take away the value of fixed dollar investments. So moving on to commodities. Like I said before, we had right after the Japan's nuclear crisis, and they pumped trillions of dollars into their economy. Commodities dropped, and now they're going right back to the levels that they were before. Looking at some of the commodities in the energy field, we have Brent crude trading actually down a very little bit, but it's still trading at $115 a barrel, which is still a lot. And then we have heating oil futures were down 72 cents, natural gas up 15 cents. And then if you move on to the cocoa futures, basically they were both up $37, $39. Coffee up $2.80. Corn was down 13. Cotton down $4. And moving on to the wheat futures, as far as the CBT, is down $6, and KCB is up $1.75. And then on the precious metals, we have gold is at $1,427. It was down $8.80. Then silver is trading at $37 and 40 cents, 4 cents, and it's down almost 32 cents. But copper is down 55 cents. And moving on to this article, just gold falls as dollar rises, Fed comments weigh. And then we have number of the week: food inflation foments political unrest, 100%. The increase in an anti-government protest associated with 10% rise in global food prices. So we have BOC's Carney, inflation risk is real, and it says here the risk of inflation in the global economy are real, and they are being telegraphed by bond markets. Bank of America Governor Mark Carney said in comments after the speech on Saturday. And then moving on to Somalia, in it's either Puntland or Puntland, food prices jump as country endures the drought, and $5 gasoline could be imminent. And it says here, with the unrest in the Middle East and North Africa, some experts are saying that we might see gas at $5 a gallon before summer. News reports said gas prices in places like New York and Chicago are already over $4 a gallon, so it's entirely feasible that they will reach $5. Gas prices tend to spike this in the summer and fall back down in the winter, and of course they keep doing that over and over and over again, and until eventually people are looking at $3-4 a gallon per gallon and saying, "Ooh, that's cheap," because it's lower than what it was last year. And says here, consumer confidence in U.S. falls more than forecast on rising fuel prices. Consumer sentiment in the U.S. dropped more than forecasted in March, dampened by higher gasoline costs and the effects of Japan's natural disaster. Then we have hidden inflation. U.S. consumers adjust spending habits amid soaring prices. It says here, U.S. consumers have watched food and fuel prices eat away at their household budgets, and now those price hikes are spreading to other products. Said with the worst yet to come. Then we have lenders wait for consumers to spend. The major Australian banks are preparing for credit growth across the economy to remain subdued, but expect business spending will return once consumers regain confidence. Then we have U.S. finances ranked near worst in the world, says a study. The U.S. ranks near the bottom of the developed global economies in terms of financial stability and will stay there unless it addresses its burgeoning debt problems, a new study has found. Then Budget 2011, and this is what I talk about a lot, guys, about working the new restructuring of the economy, which the slaves are just going to have to become more like slaves, and you're going to have to work longer, harder, and earn less, right? It says here, Budget 2011, younger staff will work to 80 under pension linked to rising lifespans. You like that? I'm glad that everybody, I just heard the CDC's report, people are living longer and rising lifespans. You have diabetes and cancer and so many other ailments are going on with people that are almost epidemic of epidemic proportions, and yet they're telling us that we're going to live long enough to where we can work till 80 years old. You work till 80 years old, which I've said this before. There's nothing wrong with working to the day you die. It just, my problem is I would rather work on a regular job that, it's okay, I don't mind, but I wouldn't mind being done after 30, 40 years of doing it, right? And then I retire, I have my investments and eggs nest, and then maybe I go back to college. Maybe I earn my master's or something like that. Become a teacher at a community college. You know what I mean? Something that will give me fulfillment in my life, so I don't just get dumped in a nursing home to die, right? So there's nothing wrong with doing something like that. Where you can kind of, after your career, you do something that you really like to do. And you go back to a little training, you get some certifications and that. But no, what they want you to do, they want you to slave away at a job that you completely despise and hate, right? And then, just work like a little worker bee 5 days a week, and then And then when you hit 80, if you make it to 80, you pass all the eugenics, well then, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to end up in a nursing home to die. So, it's not good for anybody when they raise these retirement ages. So, it says here millions of employees could see the retirement pushed back at least 12 months every 2 years after George Osborne announced plans to link the pension age to rising longevity. So there you go, folks. There's a bunch of BS. CBO, employment economic output not expected to recover until 2016. The CBO estimates that the labor force and thus economic output will not return to normal levels until at least 2016, meaning that the unemployment rate will stay above normal for many more years. And moving on here, it says billionaires flourish, inequalities deepen as economies recover, end quote, right? They're not recovering, it's restructuring. Remember that. The bailouts of the banks, speculators, and manufacturers serve the real purpose. The multi-billionaires became billionaires and later became multi-billionaires. So, and it says here, according to an annual report of the business magazine Forbes, there are 1,210 individuals and many cases family clans with a net value of $1 billion or more, said the total net worth of $4,500 billion greater than the combined worth of 4 billion people in the world. The current concentration of wealth exceeds any previous period in history, from King Midas, the Maharas, and the robber barons to the recent Silicon Valley Wall Street moguls of the present decade. Next up, Suttle unrolls toilet paper tax, and says Mayor Jim Suttle went to Washington Tuesday flush with ideas for how federal officials could help cities like Omaha pay for multi-billion-dollar sewer projects. Among the items of his brainstorming list, a proposed 10-cent federal tax on every roll of toilet paper that you buy. So, and you can check that out. And we have another tax. Arkansas Senate backs grocery tax and business tax cuts. It says here, they're actually tax cuts for the groceries. Arkansas lawmakers have voted to cut the state's taxes on groceries and manufacturers' utility bills, becoming one of the first states to opt significant tax relief, with other state houses are grappling with massive spending cuts and deficits. And Indiana is a state where we don't pay for food tax, so it's pretty cool. It says here, Clinton argues for consumption tax on e-commerce on the issue of taxes applied to internet retailers. President Bill Clinton, appeared to more fully shift away from the laissez-faire stance he struck while in office, arguing that a consumption tax should be placed on e-commerce. So, and then we move on here to CBO. CBO sees benefits in taxing motorists based on miles driven, talking about a little tracker box, tracks your miles, and it was usually applied or associated with the carbon, basically carbon emissions. But it says here, new CBO studies says taxing motorists based on the number of miles they drive would be a fair and efficient way to charge motorists for the real cost of using the nation's highways. Ooh, the shitty highways, excuse my French here, but the crappy highways that are always under construction, have potholes and cracks in them, those amazing highways, it's just it's a bunch of crap, right? It's a bunch of crap, because that's how pro-statists, people who promote government, they always fall in that argument about the roads, and yet all this money is siphoned from the American people, and it never goes to the roads, does it? No, it doesn't. It never does, and that's the biggest argument for a government, is for the roads. And now look at, they got to create a special tax for the roads. Well, why the hell would you have to do that if you have a government? That's what it's supposed to do, right? Create the roads. Well, no, it's not. It's supposed to siphon money off from people at gunpoint. That's their job. I mean, honestly, dude, you can have roads without a government. You can have private corporations. Actually, you wouldn't have corporations anymore without a government, so they'd actually be liable for what they did. Anyways, California businesses could face huge tax hike for unemployment benefits. California employers could see an annual payroll tax hike of up to $6 billion if the state's unemployment program does not pay back its federal loans. GE strategies let it avoid taxes altogether. Then look at this. Obama asked GE's Imminent to head economic advisory panel. So GE doesn't pay taxes, And then GE's head man is going to be part of the economic advisory panel. Caterpillar urges Illinois to roll back tax increase. That's right, they scared away Amazon. And it says Iceland's economy hits bottom, says forecast. Then automakers may lose 600,000 vehicles as Japan's quake halts assembly lines. Fed's Bullard says pretty good. U.S. economy may allow early end to QE2. Yeah, the economy's just doing great, guys. Ultrasound at $59,490 spurs Aetna outrage and suit naming doctors. Charge her $59,000 for an ultrasound. Then EU agrees on permanent bailout funds. So there you go, guys. And then BP, German con sees Godfather films as manual for life. And talking about the Russian BP deal. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.